welcome. Today I'll be sharing my thoughts on Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. And this is coming out on February 25th, and thanks to Book of the Month, I was able to read it a little early. So in this book we follow new mom Camilla, and she's ready to go back to work after her maternity leave ends. And when she's at work, there's a breaking news story developing, and it turns out that her own husband is taking hostages in London. And then we follow her as she navigates this impossible situation. And this book is split up in, I think, 3 or 4 different acts, so we also get to read what happens after the siege and the whole aftermath. And we're also hearing from the perspective of the hostage negotiator Niall. So what did I think of this? Let's start with what I like about this. First, and this is just because I'm German, I love when books reference German words. And if I counted correctly, she's using German words 4 times in here. And she does give you an explanation of what these words mean, and an accurate explanation, so you can learn a little bit of German. The overall writing style was great. There was one metaphor in here that was talking about how the sun is as yellow and sharp as a lemon drop. I haven't heard that before and really like that comparison. And then there was also a quote about grief that really resonated with me. And the quote is, "The thing about grief is that when it happens to you, you go through the looking glass. Suddenly, everyone else lives one kind of life with one set of problems and you another. You're in a different world now, one you can never return from, and you only realize too late how good the first world was." So that gives you a little bit of an idea, and I did think her writing was really good. Now the chapters in here were mostly short, some of them were a little bit longer, but generally they're pretty quick. And in the beginning the story was super fast paced, which I loved, but then around, I would say probably the halfway point, it really slowed down, and to be honest, I had a little bit of a problem getting through it. And the siege itself was over pretty quickly. And then after that, the relationships of the people were put in the forefront, and I really didn't expect that. Because I kept wanting for the mystery to move along rather than following a character-driven story, because that's what it became. And I like character-driven stories when I'm in the mood for it, but for mysteries or thrillers in general, I rather enjoy or prefer plot-driven stories. And I thought the concept and the twist was actually pretty clever, and I do think that a lot of people will be satisfied with the ending. Now, I didn't feel too connected to the characters, to be honest, and that's simply because I couldn't identify with the problems they were going through. There were a few issues that were addressed, but one that I wanted to mention was infertility, and I know that a lot of people are struggling with this and that it can be triggering, so I thought I would mention it here. And specifically with Camilla, I felt like she just kept coming back to the same thoughts, in that she kept thinking about, no, my husband could never do that. How could he have done that? I love him so much. He would never do this. It got really repetitive. And then on the other hand, we had Niall's relationship, which seemed a little bit too predictable and cliche to me. I think that if you like romance books and you want to start reading thrillers, or maybe you like both romance and thriller books, this will be the book for you. And I do think you would really enjoy this. But for me personally, I can only give it 3 stars for the reasons I mentioned. And it's not that I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed it. It didn't really wow me. And because it did turn out to be a very character-driven story in the end. And for me, there was just too much emphasis on the relationships rather than the thrilling aspect of it. But regardless, I enjoyed it. I think a lot of other people will enjoy it. And you can definitely read this quickly. So for the upcoming summer, if you're still looking for a quick beach read, I think this would be really good. But let me know your thoughts on this book if you've read it, or if you're planning to read it. And if you haven't done so already and you enjoyed this video, please like it and consider subscribing, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.